Welcome to Lawyer Business Advantage. This podcast is dedicated to helping attorneys earn more money, get better clients, and spend more time with family. I'm your host, Alay and founder of law firm Success Group. Smart business guidance for small law firms begins in 3, 2, 1. And it's my pleasure to welcome to Lawyer Business Advantage my co-host, Chelsea Pagan. Chelsea, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited that my day is coming to an end very soon and I'm getting into weekend mode, so I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I love that your day is ending at 4 p.m. on a Friday and that you're gonna enjoy the rest of your Friday and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have any plans?
Yeah, my husband and I have a little at-home date night planned tonight. We have this like travel scrapbook we've been doing since we first got married and we're so far behind on it. So we're gonna work on that tonight and then we have a little couples dinner out tomorrow and a babysitter lined up. So I'm really excited.
That sounds great. Fantastic. Well, we've got some stuff going on here too. I'm going skiing tomorrow, which I am really happy about. It's my second time going this year, and I went a couple weeks ago, and it was just like totally perfect. Perfect conditions.
Yeah.
Slopes weren't crowded. Everything was open. Just had a great time skiing with my nieces, and it was a lot of fun. And so we're gonna do that again today, and it's or not today, tomorrow. Um, it's always cool when you have the weekends and you can do things that you really love to do. You know,
Yeah.
it makes it all worthwhile. So I'm so glad you're able to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Um, well, I was just looking at the roster of clients that we have at Law Firm Success Group, and every single one of our clients is dealing with either a hiring challenge, meaning they're looking to hire somebody and having a tough time, or dealing with a employee performance issue, or both.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. The one thing no one seems to be dealing with right now is bringing on more business, which is really interesting. Any idea what you're seeing as the owner of a family law firm?
Yeah, no, I mean that's totally in line with what we have going on, which is really interesting. There's when you first open a business, your first concern generally is, am I going to have enough business to keep me afloat and reach my goals? Secondary to that are all the hiring needs because you just don't know what that looks like on day one, right? You don't anticipate it. And now, I mean, we're about to be 7 years in this year, and the business influx is not the problem. And it's not a problem for the colleagues that I'm talking to in family law either, but it's finding experienced lawyers and crafting, you know, um, essentially employment plans and strategies for getting the most out of the employees you do have. And so I'm not sure what the difference in this season is, but I agree that, that is exactly what we're experiencing and struggling with every single day.
I don't know if the deal is that they're just not making enough lawyers, or if people are leaving the legal profession, or what the deal is. But I thought it was pretty bad kind of heading into the pandemic. And if anything, it's worse now. Like the labor market is tighter.
Yeah, I would agree. I sometimes think about if I was, starting my career now, would I have gone to law school and done the same things, knowing all the things I know now, right? I still think I would have because I've always wanted to be a lawyer. It's what I know. But there's the cost of law school, there's the high level of stress lawyers tend to take on, all of these things that people hear about and don't want to try to navigate, right? I don't know, but I would agree that we had okay hiring experiences actually right before and during the pandemic. But since then, having the need to grow as well, not necessarily a high turnover, but a need to grow. And there literally being no one that's looking for a job in the realm of experience that we're looking at. A lot of people who are graduating, actually, we have some ads out. A lot of people who are graduating are looking for a job, but that's not the role we're looking to fill. And so it's a big struggle. It's lawyers that are have already been in it for a period of time. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of law firms, the small firms, when they're looking to make their first hire or their second, they're tempted to hire someone fresh out of law school. And I'm glad that you're not looking for that because the amount of training that it takes to get that person up to speed, most attorneys don't have the time because the reason they're hiring someone is because they're out of time.
Yeah,
And no,
right.
no one joins, and now you've got to spend all this time training the person up. It's really, really challenging. Plus, the likelihood, you know, being a new attorney, being at the phase of life that they're probably in, where they're starting a new career, high likelihood of transition, either leaving the state or moving to a different area of law or switching law firms or what have you. Whereas if you get someone who, like you're looking at, is that 5 to 10 year attorney who really knows their stuff
Yep.
and wants to get to the next level, they're going to be much more stable. And it turns out that just about everyone is looking for exactly that kind of attorney. Um,
Everyone we know is like filling the same role, and they're like, "Where are you looking? What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't want to tell you. I don't want to share my secrets." Even though, I really harp on transparency with other business owners, and of course, I tell them, I'm like, "I'm using LinkedIn. I'm using these things. These things are working. They're not." Because at the end of the day, the candidate that's right for us is not necessarily going to be right for them and vice versa, right? It's all about that. So I do think that when there is the right candidate, it's gonna make sense for whoever, they're going for. But yeah, I mean, everyone we've spoken to, and I have such a soft spot for new associates. You can ask my business partner. I'm the one in the firm that usually takes on the newer associate. One, because I just feel like everybody looks for experience, and when you're trying to get it and everyone wants experience and you don't have it, what do, right? You have to start somewhere. And if they, have the right mindset and they can learn fast, it's worth it a lot because you're training them like you want them to. But there's certain periods of time in your business where just like you said, we just don't have the time for that. And we have some newer associates. We have some very experienced litigators and associates right now, and we need one more before we can go back to saying, okay, the next phase would be another kind of new, fresh attorney that we can train that can support all these additional attorneys. But we're in that in between. We're not quite ready to take on somebody new, and it's a really hard balance.
it really is. And I was fortunate, I'm not a lawyer, I've never owned a law firm, but I have hired a lot of people and built some businesses. And one of the things I learned, I worked for 3 or 4 startups in Silicon Valley. And one of the things I learned when I was building an organization is I was usually the first person in and kind of like a lawyer opening up their firm. And then I had to make that first hire. And learn from experience that if you're in a small organization where there's a lot of pressure on you, there's a real temptation to hire someone the least expensive you can find, the least experienced you can find, because they're the cheapest. Bring them on board. But what I've found, and this is counterintuitive, is oftentimes hiring a real senior attorney, bringing them in who can really add a ton of value from day one, offload a lot of your work is worth their weight in gold. And you recently did that with an attorney that you brought on board. Um, I don't want to name names, but I know she's doing really, really well for your firm.
Yeah.
Would love to hear your experience in this tight market. How did you find her? What are some insights you can share with our audience?
Yeah, we got so lucky, not just on a professional level, but from a personal level and how somebody can come into a firm and make the overall energy so much better. That was just an added bonus to all of this. But yes, we just got really lucky. And having worked in family law, specifically in Santa Clara County for over 10 years, you get to know a lot of people. You talk to a lot of other attorneys, both business owners and associates. And this is somebody who we had gone against as opposing counsel many times. And always we're like, gosh, she's so tough. Like she's so tough. But when you get her on the phone, she's so easy. But for her clients, she's so tough. And she was with the firm for a long time, and we saw a jump happen, and we were looking for somebody. And we're like, oh, she just left. She's not interested. And we were talking to everyone else we could at a senior level, trying to steal anybody we possibly could that we respected, we enjoyed going against. And the timing wasn't right for them, or we would talk. Emily and my business partner and I would talk after and be like, oh, that felt like a stretch, meaning it felt like maybe the vibes were off, what they wanted, what we wanted, trying to find the right mix. And then finally we said, we're just going to reach out to her. We know she just left, she's only been at a new firm, but what do we have to lose at this point? And just kind of said, look, we're building a role around you, right? We need somebody that can take this on, that kind of wants to be a partner without the stress of the business management aspect of a partner, but autonomy to control and build a team of people who likes the litigation, which is the stuff that Emily and I are trying to take off our plate so we can run the business. And it took one conversation to know this was it. And sometimes you have to go for the person that you really, really want, regardless of the circumstances that you have in your head. Meaning, we would have gone after this person day one had we not, had we essentially told ourselves it doesn't matter that she just left and she's only been at this new firm for 3 months. If it's right, she's going to want to move one more time. Right. And we were letting that get in our heads about, oh, we don't want to bother her. Essentially, she just made this move. She's not interested. And we were so wrong. Right. We were so wrong. So there's really no, I don't want to say shame, whatever the right word is, but you got to go after what the people that you think are the best for your firm. The worst thing they're going to say is no, and you move on to the next person,
Right,
right?
right, totally. In this case, you were looking at people who you already knew of and
Yes.
already respected, which is terrific. And so that's where, point number one, if you're looking to hire somebody, start with who you already know. I love your comment, Chelsea, about um, you went against this person in court and you were impressed with how tough she was.
Yeah.
But yet you also worked really well with her and you appreciated that too. And you could tell she would probably be a good add to the team. So starting with who you know makes a ton of sense. What I talk about a lot is that, the question we ask a lot of our clients is, okay, think of all the attorneys you know. If you could wave a magic wand, who would you love to have on your team?
Hmm.
Make that list and then reach out to those folks. And if they don't know if they're not interested, they may know someone else who is. And so oftentimes a nice way to broach that conversation is, hey, you call them up or what have you and say, hey, I was looking for an attorney just like you that might be a little on the nose. You can say an attorney that, I really I really respect you as an attorney. I would love to hire someone's, with your similar skills. Who do you know who might be a really good fit for us?
Yeah.
And maybe they'll recommend somebody. Maybe they'll say, well, I might be interested, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. And we I mean we talked to a couple other people, and sometimes the people that we knew but maybe weren't as chummy with, right? Like you always have a different relationship with certain attorneys. We would kind of broach the subject a little bit like that. Like, hey, we're looking for somebody. We know that you've been litigating a lot and you're at court. Who have you seen? Do you know anyone? And that got a couple bites, but again, it just didn't end up being the right fit. Versus, and then there was a couple people where we didn't waste any time. We said, hey, we think this role would make sense for you. Here's what we're looking for. Tell us what it would take for you to make the jump. And to the credit of a lot of the attorneys right now who seem very happy where they are, meaning it wasn't about the money, it wasn't about the dollar. It was like, that sounds really interesting. I'm not looking to make the change. And great, no problem. And I don't know if it's some other business owners or attorneys getting like not wanting to rock the boat with their colleagues, right? Because, we generally get along. And there's some truth to that. But at the end of the day, it's not about them. It's about, finding the right fit and getting people to where they need to go to be the most successful. That includes, a somewhat happy attorney moving to another situation where they're even happier. It doesn't mean that they're not
Right.
in all situations. It's just what do you have to offer that's different, that's intriguing for that person. And we were just trying to find as much information as we could at that point.
You were, and you left no stone unturned. And that's the other cool thing that I picked up from what you said is that you never know what's going on in the other person's life or in their head. And so you may write them off, or you may be tempted to write them off as a candidate. You may say to yourself, oh, this isn't the right time, or they're dealing with that, or they just got married, or whatever it happens to be. Um, but you never know unless you actually ask. And it could be that you're asking at the perfect time. And
Yeah.
so not assuming that it's not assuming that it's not a good time. I think I got all that right. Um, is really, really important and just, doing the outreach, right? And because you know them, it's a pretty easy conversation either way.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, and we feel like as we get older too, right? As we practice, we're not seeing all the same attorneys. There's all these new people. We're like, I don't even know half of these people anymore. There's all these new attorneys coming up. And so then you're wanting to start. asking that network, like you said, hey, do you know anyone else? Who are you seeing? Because the same attorneys I go against are not the same attorneys, our colleagues go against, because there's a lot of family law attorneys that come from all over and really pooling. Unfortunately, in this situation, like I said, a lot of the people we're asking go, well, I'm looking, so I'm not going to help you because I need somebody first.
Yeah.
And it's been the kind of this running joke with a couple of us that are talking to each other right now because we're all fighting for the same types of people, and we're not having as much success as maybe we would have had 5, 6 years ago.
It's interesting. It seems to be a big thing with family law is probably as far as the practice areas we work with, which is just about all of them at the moment, family law certainly has the tightest labor market, but the other ones aren't far behind either. Um, but like family law is one of those things where if you meet someone you like, you better move fast because they're going to get snapped up by another firm right away. Um, there's three things that someone needs to have before they make a change like this, and it might be helpful for our for the attorney entrepreneurs that are listening to hear about this. Three things to get someone to make a change. The first thing is they need to have a positive vision of where things can go. So if you're thinking about bringing someone on board to add to your firm, telling them, hey, like you said, Chelsea, we're building this role around you. We want to build a long-term partnership relationship with you, which might end up, wherever you want to take it, right? Giving them that positive vision of how things can be better than what they currently have is super important. Because if their situation can't get any better, why should they bother leaving, right?
Right.
The second thing is making sure that there is some dissatisfaction. I think to your point, that might be a reason why a lot of attorneys are staying put. There's just no dissatisfaction there. They're good. Like they're getting paid well, they're busy, they've got plenty of work, they like their work, like it's fine. And so if there's no dissatisfaction, it's really hard to get someone to make a change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And with that point in particular, trying to find what that is, because I feel like some people will hide it, right? Even when you're talking to them, they're not wanting to badmouth, or it's asking the right questions, and that was something that we struggled with for sure. But we kind of knew there was something that they weren't happy about. We just couldn't figure it how help them articulate it or articulate it for them. So I find that interesting.
yeah, great point. And the fact that if someone reaches out, when you reach out to them and they say, "Yeah, let's talk," there's clearly some dissatisfaction there. And now you've got to just find out what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and the third thing are really concrete first steps. So I've seen other attorneys do this dance with people where they're like, "Oh, let's go have lunch with them, and then let's follow up with a call, and then let's send an email." Like they like have this long drawn out courtship process. That is not your style.
No, not at all. We did do some let's meet up and go out for lunch, dinner, drinks, whatever, but we said we have an opportunity we want to talk to you about. And we talked about it then. And then we had we discussed the timeline, like, hey, what do you need from us? And when can you respond? Because we need to act fast. A couple conversations, I just had a call and said, hey, this is what it is. And they were like, I'm just not interested this time. That sounds awesome. Good luck. And we were done 5 minutes later. We did not waste time. One, we didn't have it to waste. One, for the business itself, but also filling the role. And everybody's time is too valuable. We're lawyers. We bill in point one, point two increments. And you're going to have a dinner where you're just kind of being chummy, then an email saying, hey, it was great talking to you. I was actually thinking it's a whole game, but ultimately what it does is end up wasting everyone's time when we're all adults. We're all on this mission to do the best work we possibly can for our clients and have the right environment to do that in. So all you have to do is present it, offer it. And I just feel like the people we talked to, even when it didn't work out, I feel like it hasn't impacted our relationships at all with these people, right? We're still in the same situation. They're like, hey, we made an offer. They weren't interested. Great. Move on with our lives. No big deal. It's all business.
It certainly is. And I could have said it better myself. I think the last person I hired for my other business, not my coaching business, but yes, by the way, I have two businesses. Um, I met her at a networking event. Um, we really hit it off, loved her attitude and her approach. We weren't trying to hire someone for that role, um, but we could swing it. And she seemed like she was super motivated and had a lot of the right skills that we wanted. So me and my business partner Took her out to lunch, had a great lunch. She said all the right things. We really hit it off, all three of us, very well. We made her an offer that afternoon and brought her on board. That's what it takes these days. You got to move forward fast. If you find
Yeah.
someone you like, go. And even if it's not the ideal right time, maybe it's a little early. But if you can swing that financially and it's the right person, you are going to reap the benefits for years to come.
Yeah, and how do you think people should think about prioritizing filling roles at their firm in a situation like maybe you weren't looking, but an opportunity presents? How do you kind of navigate how to prioritize that within a business, especially when you're talking about expense and cost value?
So it starts with cash flow. It
Mhm.
always starts with cash flow. So if you have the money, great, right? If you have the cash coming in to be able to afford that person for a couple of months, awesome. If you don't have the money, then you don't have the money, right? I would never ask that someone go out and borrow money to go hire somebody. That being said, there's a couple of different types of people you can bring in. The first type are cost centers. So, examples of that are administrative staff or accountants or people like that who you can't bill out and make money on. They are definitely a lower priority, and I would be very careful about hiring people like that before you have to. The group where it may make sense to hire earlier profit centers. So that are attorneys, paralegals, maybe legal secretaries, people that at the end of the day you can bill out and you will make more money than you're paying them. So they're a source of profit for the firm. That's why they're called profit centers. The great thing about them is if they're the right fit, they can be profitable in the first month. And so even if you can't really afford them, you think you don't actually have to carry their salary for very long before they're more than paying for themselves. So all you really need maybe is a month or two where you cover their salary, and then everything else is going to be profit after that. And that's where it makes a ton of sense. And if you're listening to this podcast, you might have Audible. If you like listening to audiobooks, check out the book I wrote, Staffing Up, The Attorney's Guide to Hiring Top Talent, because we go into when to hire. And to your point, Chelsea, that's the biggest mistake that I see law firms make is they don't hire quickly enough. They wait until they're totally buried and then they try and hire. And by that time, it's too late. You're already bogged down with work. You're in a rush to hire somebody. And even if you hire someone, you don't necessarily have the bandwidth to train them.
Mhm.
So if you bring them on, you can do that, but it's going to come at a tremendous, personal cost to your time. The better thing to do is hire early, ramp them up, make them profitable as quickly as possible, and then you won't be out of pocket. And as we talked about these days, bringing in business doesn't seem to be an issue for the attorneys that we work with.
No, and what's funny about that is we thought, our firm, we thought we were on top of it. We are like, okay, we're gonna start posting early. We brought in this new attorney, and now it's 3 months later, we still haven't found somebody, and now we're like, okay, we need somebody. So we're kind of in that position now where we feel like we're behind, where we normally are a little bit more on top of things. And this is when I'm so thankful to have a good team of professionals, including you, right, to bounce ideas off of and brainstorm about like, well, there's all these different alternatives. I know a lot of law firms who have a lot of law clerks or law students drafting a lot of work, helping them get stuff done. For us, that's never been our model because I don't see the profit benefit, right? Like, yes, you don't have to pay malpractice insurance, you're not paying state bar fees and all of these things, um and you're paying them less but you're billing them less, and there's so much they cannot do, right? They can't really have a lot of client meetings and give legal advice, they can't respond to emails, they can't attend court, and the profit margin of an attorney is so much higher than all of that that it never made sense for us. But we know, a lot of other firms that have that model, even paralegals. We have like a litigation support specialist that was kind of that perfect combination between an admin mindset and paralegal where there's some support, but we're not as worried about her being a billing machine. She's supporting a lot of documents that we're taking in and keeping us on track versus a situation where do we hire a full-time paralegal, it's only doing legal work versus just getting another attorney. And Emily and I have always been the attorney, the attorney kind of approach to building a team in a law firm versus law clerks and law students, and it's just a
Absolutely.
decision, but it just never financially, the numbers never came out to us.
Yeah, and a lot of this has to do with the practice areas. So for family law, the money, the profit is all in the attorneys.
Yeah.
It's not in the paralegals or anything else. Trust in estates is a bit different. Trust in estates, attorneys may not necessarily be the way to go. A lot of trust and estates firms are built using paralegals because they can do all the drafting and there is no court or very little court.
Right.
Um, business, corporate transaction law, also no court, so they tend to have a lot more paralegals. But yeah, the money and family law is all in bringing in attorneys and hiring them. And you know, in your defense, Chelsea, you've hired a lot in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And so when you're growing as quickly as you are, sometimes you're going to get behind because it's very hard to keep up the pace as a small firm. You can only hire so quickly. Everyone that comes in, you've got to integrate them into your firm, get them ramped up, get them profitable, and then go hire the next person. So you can only do it so fast. You just both happen to be crushing it, and so your business intake is outpacing your hiring, and that will be fixed soon, I think.
Yeah, and it's all relative too, in the sense that the team we have not right now looks very different than the team we had this time last year because we've had some people, leave the firm, who are still in great contact with, who are just looking for something different, and you want to support them and get somebody to overlap. And thankfully, when you build good relationships, I'll give an example. We lost our office manager and last year, but she gave us like 3 months notice and said, I just need a change. I'm at the age where I want to try a different career, and if I don't do it now, I'm going to regret it. She gave us 3 months. She helped us train somebody new. She worked really hard to get everything in order to bring on this next person. I still speak with her on a regular basis. That was one of those situations where we knew we had done our job at giving somebody a good experience, so much so that they wanted to make our lives easier in their absence. And that felt like such a gift, and it's not something we took for granted. But it also made it so much less stressful on our team to have that overlap and have somebody ready to go. And we've added somebody else, in increments that don't seem overwhelming. But the team we have right now is the team I'm worried about, right? I'm not worried about the old team or the team in the future just yet. I got to worry about this team and making sure they're supported. And right now, they're all kind of saying, hey, we need this one role filled. And reminding them that that's our investment. We're not taking on very many cases right now, which just kills me as a business owner not to turn away business. It's not a bad problem to have, but that's when you really know, okay, if I don't jump at this opportunity to grow, to employ more people to support my team, we're not going to go anywhere. And this whole team we have right now wants us to get to bigger and better things. So that's also the fun part about it. It's stressful, but you have to see the big picture. I mean, these are all good things. You just got to keep working at it.
Absolutely. And I know you and Emily have just done this, so this doesn't apply to you both. But to attorney entrepreneurs, if you can't hire, but you're at capacity and you're turning away work, think about the last time that you raised your rate. Maybe you need to bump your rate up, right? Again, Chelsea, I know you and Emily are all on this, so this is more for you folks. This was a really awesome conversation. I look forward to continuing the conversation in the next episode. We're going to talk about the other side of the coin, which is employee performance. That should be a fun
Yep.
conversation.
Yep.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Lawyer Business Advantage podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is for you to rate this show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you tune in to listen. And I want to hear from you, so connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know what you think of this episode. And if you are a solo or an owner of a small law firm and you're looking to earn more money, attract better clients, or reduce your stress, we would love to talk with you to see how we can help. Request your free law firm assessment by visiting lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. Again, that URL is lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. We look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you for listening. My name is Alay Yajnik. Until next time, remember, you can seize freedom. You can embrace happiness. You can build your perfect practice.